Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where as promised, we are here at our destination site. It's a little hard to see, but we have arrived. I did have a little bit of a hard time getting this to move up some of the steeper hills. I had to end up like switchbacking up the hills, and that was a little tedious, no doubt about it. But we do want to head over and like impact the rock, right? So we want to head this direction. Hang on. There we go. We want to go around here and just touch the rock so that we can finish this mission. Cool. So over we head. I'm reversing right now, so that's, mildly awkward, but should be fine. Okay. So this is Stargazer Point. There we go. That completes the mission. And we're going to recover this vehicle. So I expect there to be at least a couple of additional missions like this, but at this point, we should be set up to where we can do this fairly easily. So let's head into the mission control. And we are going to submit this, of course. This curb-wide tour is now completed, and we're going to get, I assume, at least one more. Oh, wow, we didn't. Okay. I expected there to be at least 3 curb-wide tours. They must have been planning to add more later. Okay. So, at this point, we can drive a rover onto the frozen tsunami on Elu. We can obtain a sample report of the strange creature on Lathe. And we can land on Eve with a vessel with 10 Kerbals and return to Kerbin. This one's going to be the hard one. I think this is probably going to end up being our finale mission. So maybe we should go over to Lathe. So that's going to be interesting for sure. Let's head into the VAB. I'm wondering about our nuclear lander and whether it can land on its own power on Lathe. So let's open up our nuclear lander here. This is the Moho Lander 2. This thing is insane, for the record. This thing is absolutely bonkers. And probably shouldn't be allowed. My question, of course, is when these engines fire, if this was over Lathe in the atmosphere at 0 meters, this is a thrust to weight of 1.11. Okay. So technically it could land. Technically. But we maybe shouldn't count on that. That said, we could use the parachutes. We definitely could use the parachutes. Now, we don't want to carry these. We know that this is a bugged system, so we're not going to do that. That's for sure. Now, it's going to be an atmospheric landing, so pinpointing the landing is going to be a little bit complicated unless we just drop straight down. We get rid of all horizontal speed. That is a theoretical option. I don't know if it's a good option, but it is a theoretical one. So we can definitely think about that. The other thing that we could think about doing is a similar sort of rover-style vehicle and have the ability to, like, deploy the rover from this. And we would also need a rover for our Elu mission. So in theory, that might be the best way to go. If we were to deploy a rover from this, how would we want to do that? That's an interesting question, actually. Let's consider merging in our Capo Rock. No, I don't want to save. I want to open this. I want to merge in our Capo Rock lander. Like this. So obviously, this is a way different rocket design, right? We're going to get rid of the booster on it. And we're going to get rid of that. We're going to move this guy up to be up top here. And I'm thinking that we maybe ditch this system here and replace it with this. That's an interesting option for sure. Now, we would ditch these landing legs. I don't think they're strictly speaking necessary at this point. And this docking port would definitely go away. This is a battery. I'm going to put that aside for now. This guy here, we would ditch, including all of the parachutes on it. And then we've got this down here. So this is a reaction wheel. At this point, we would want to connect this guy, like, here, hypothetically. We may want to put a fairing on this. So if we put this here, and then this here, like this, that'll be, I think, a little bit lighter of a payload. The problem is, how do we utilize this rover while also landing and taking off with this? Right? That's a significant question. And I don't have an answer to that right now. I don't currently have a solution to that one. So this would deliver us there, but it wouldn't really deploy this rover in any meaningful manner. Unless we had a rover docking station down here somewhere, and the rover was actually attached over here. That's an interesting option. Do we have external seats in this? We do. We do have external seats in KSP2. Okay. Ideas are happening. Does that break everything? Yes, it does. Okay. We're going to reload this. We're going to reload the Moho Lander too. And then we're going to merge back in the rover. So we're going to bring this rover in. Oh, I loaded that. I meant to merge it. Okay, we're going to load this guy, and we're going to have to redo that. That's fine. So we're then going to merge in this guy. We ditch the booster here, including the decoupler. Get out of here. And now I'm going to ditch everything up top here. Like that. And all I'm going to put in is a... There we go. All I'm going to put in here is a rover seat. And that is going to be facing, I don't know, this way. Seems fine. Just a single rover seat. That should be absolutely a-okay. Now, we're going to move this guy up, and we need a way to deploy this rover, right? Well, first things first, let's get rid of this landing gear system. That is... Get rid of it. There we go. Now the button worked. The landing leg system there is, of course, completely irrelevant. So, out over this direction, we need to figure out how we want to deploy this rover. So, in KSP1, I would probably store it vertically right along here and use robotic arms to move this down. I'd have it be strutted in for the liftoff. But for now, I don't think that's the way to go here. Because there aren't robotic arms in KSP2. So instead, we could have it be done via some trusses. So we could have a truss that comes out over here, like this. And then that would attach to a decoupler over here, hypothetically. So a decoupler would go around here, a TD12 decoupler, like this. And then this entire assembly would be rotated like so and attached like that. Then this would be dropped and it would flip itself back upright. And then this would be left on the surface. Then the question is, if we can't fly, how would we get our Kerbals into here? Right? That would be a very interesting question indeed. We're going to need ladders. So, we're definitely going to put in some ladders here. So, this is a telescoping ladder here. We're going to want to be able to climb up over here, right? So a telescoping ladder that goes somewhere around there? That's not long enough. But we might be able to jump for it. But of course, we're going to need to be able to get up after this is detached. So that's going to be a thing. We might be able to just move over here. I'll test that in a moment. For now, I'm not going to be too worried about getting onto the rover. What I am worried about is climbing up this thing, right? That's going to be a bit of a problem. We're going to have to use trusses for this, I think. So we're going to go into our structures, and we're going to grab a truss like this. And I'm going to attach it like so, and we're just going to bring it on down. This is not how I want this to attach at all. I want it to attach right at this attachment point right here. I mean, sure, but that's not how I want it rotated. I don't think it matters. Well, it kind of does. Let's rotate this into position here. So we'll need to rotate it this way, I believe. Yep. And then we'll need to move it without snapping on. About like that. Okay. So that'll be fine. And then we'll duplicate that and we'll snap this guy in right like that. Okay. Now we can put a ladder here that goes down to the ground. And then a second ladder up here that should, in theory, be navigable for our Kerbals. We'll have to test that. And actually, this should have snapping on because, yeah, that angle is awkward. So we'll put that about there. And then another ladder somewhere around here. We're just going to need to be able to climb all the way up this thing. So this guy will go about here or so. We're going to test to make sure that these ladders are indeed navigable before we leave. But we'll just do something like that. And this isn't necessarily going to take us all the way to the top. We may need to have a couple of small fixed ladder pieces right about here. I'm going to put one here, and then I'm going to put another one here. Okay. Now that gets us to here, right? Our hatch is over here. So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to rotate it. Like that. And then I'm going to attach a small extendable ladder right here. And if that's extended, it gives us something like that. In theory, that should allow us to move out this way. I'm going to add a small strut here. Or rather, a small truss here, to give us somewhere to stand, hopefully. So the idea behind that is just place it right there, and from there we should be able to move out. But I'm going to move that up a little bit, without snapping on, to position it right about there. Cool. That should do. Okay, let's put this out on the pad. I'm going to save this, and we can overwrite the capo rock. No. We can overwrite the... I guess this has already been overwritten. We have 2 capo rocks here. Cool. I'm going to save this as the Moho Lander, too. Okay. Now we need to test our ladder navigability. So let's put this out on the pad, and let's see how that works. I suppose we should take off the booster temporarily, shouldn't we? Just to make sure. Okay, that's noted. I don't like the way that's swaying, but I'm going to revert that back to the VAB. I think that we don't have those struts on there. We'll diagnose that after we get our ladder test run. I'm pretty sure that this version does not have the struts on the SRBs, which is, of course, unfortunate, but it's fine. Okay. So, we're going to remove the booster down here. I'm not going to save this, but we're just going to ditch all of that. We're going to put this out on the pad, not saving it, and we need to run tests on the ladder system. So we can see that the laddering is on this side. That's fine. It is currently nighttime, so it's a little bit hard to see, but it should be fine. Bill, hop on out. Do you have a light? He doesn't in this game. Okay. Noted. So he's going to climb on down. He should stop when he gets to... Okay, he can just snap onto that ladder. He pushed through there, but we should be able to just let go, and he should drop onto this truss here. That's fine. And then he can come over this direction. He should be able to grab on here. Yes. Okay, so we have to press the grab button, and he grabbed upwards there. That's a little awkward. Okay, so we can drop manually like that, and then when we're coming up here... Yeah, we can go up just fine. Down is a little bit more awkward for us. Yeah. But we can certainly do that. Okay, so then we can just continue to head down. Every time we hit a ladder transition, we have to manually swap between the ladders, which is definitely a little bit more irritating than the KSP2 system, but it's doable. So down seems to be working reasonably fine. Then, of course, we're going to have to test up. And we'll have to test the Rover systems. Although that's probably going to be full of explodium, that's okay. We know that that's going to be the case in this test. It's not exactly the best place to deploy the Rover because of this drop-off, right? So that is fine. We can go all the way down to the ground via our ladders. That is very good. And now we can grab this ladder, and we should be able to climb up as well without any problem. And then the next check that we need to run is to see if we can populate this seat from the from the crew transfer system. That's the next question, because do we need a way to get to this is what we need to answer. So we need to climb on up here. In fact, we could just revert this to launch, but I do want to test that the up is working just fine. It seems like it is, and that is a good sign. So the up on the ladder system seems to be okay. So far, so good on that. And we're at this point in the area that we've already mostly tested, but the area I'm most concerned about is this transition here. We'll see if that ends up happening. And then, of course, going up over this lip. Okay, that's intriguing. We appear to have a problem coming up here. Indeed. So we're not able to get up onto here at this point. Okay. Well, we know the majority of this works. Let's revert back to the VAB. That's absolutely fine. We know the vast majority of this works at this point. However, we have determined a couple of problems. Specifically, there is a problem with the transition between this ladder system here and this ladder system here, as well as getting up on top here. So I'm going to get rid of these, and we'll just try redoing this little section of ladder. So, what do we have here? We do have a small ladder available, and what if we were to put that about here? And extend that down like this. There's significant overlap between those now. So let's put that out on the pad. And of course, we're going to have to move the booster back in, but that's understood. So let's put that out on the pad. Now I want to check to see if we can get anybody moved. Wait, he's in the Rove Mate right now? Why are you here, Bill? You're not supposed to be here. Okay. Yeah, there's not really any way to teleport them around in KSP2, it appears. So that is noted. We're going to head back to the VAB. And we need to change what seat he's in. So we're going to need a way to get onto our Rover. That's noted. Although we could theoretically just deploy the Rover and just let it be where it's going to be. We could also just drop down our attach point. So what that would end up looking like is we would grab this guy. And we would just do something like this. And then duplicate that, put it here. And then this would end up attaching, well, we would probably want to have a small truss out over this direction. About like that. Not at that angle, though, that's for sure. About at this angle or so. It's approximate. And I want the decoupler. We'd do something like that, right? And we could just continually move that down until that is approximately at the point we want it to be. So I'd move this guy down like so, and then we would go back in here, grab this, duplicate this truss. Okay, is that too low? That might be too low. Let's grab this guy, move it up just a smidge like that. I don't want this to be impacting the ground, right? So something like that, in theory. And from there, we can activate this from the ground very, very easily. In theory. In theory. So let's put this out on the pad, but I want to make sure that we have... I guess Valentina is currently in the Grumble seat, but we want Bill to be in the Wanderer. Okay, so we need to do a couple of tests here. Specifically, test number 1, we need to make sure that this transition is working. Test number 2, I want to make sure that this decoupling actually works fine. So Bill's going to EVA here, and he's going to let go. He should land right on this strut, and climbing back up this should be no problem in theory. Yeah, that's no problem. So he lets go, he lands right on the strut. Now he's going to come over here, and we're going to see if we can activate use of this ladder from this side. Okay, he kind of has to go up on top of it. And then he can transition like that, no problem. And he can transition like that, no problem. And then he can climb out. Perfect. That's exactly the way I want that ladder system to work. Okay, so at this point, think he would survive this drop? I don't think it matters. We're just going to climb back in over here. And there we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this deployment, but this is a really weird place to test it, right? I just want to see what it does here. That's interesting. I feel like that's a good result, to be honest. Yeah, I feel like that's a good result. So, of course, this is going to complicate our landing a little bit, having this guy here, because that means we're going to have to come down very, very straight. So that is certainly noted. We also could try to deploy this shortly before the landing, which is an interesting idea. For now, though, we need to revert this back to the VAB, and we need to add the booster back in, because we need to lift this bad boy. So that is absolutely fine. And we're planning on leaving the Rover behind. That is absolutely true. So this should be, in theory, reasonably fine at this point. Let's load in the Moho Lander 2, but we're going to merge it. Okay. And now which one is each of these? Oh, okay. This is very awkward. I'm not sure which is which. I'm going to detach here. And what is the root part of this? I guess this is. Okay. Let's make sure that this is all connected together. It is. So this is the one that we want to get rid of. We're going to get rid of all of this. We're going to get rid of all of this. Then we're going to attach this guy here in the center. And then we need to check our staging, because our staging is probably horrifically broken. But I'm going to save this for now, and it is time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to get the staging done, and this should be, in theory, the booster for two, or rather the vehicle, for two separate missions, in theory. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy Kintogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.